And so here, remember Jesus' reason for where they even were in the first place. He was going to be alone with God. He was going to, but then there's all the crowd, and he has compassion on them. He teaches the disciples a lesson about compassion. He blesses the crowd in such a way that they are now full and they can travel and they can go back to their place and they're not going to, faint with exhaustion or something like that. And he sends them back. And now he goes to do what he was there to do in the first place. He's going to spend some time alone with God. And the disciples are going to start questioning his compassion again, because the disciples have been sent across the sea, and the disciples are quite a distance away from either shore. Kind of picture them in the middle of the lake. And now there's the wind and the waves, and they're being buffeted, and the boat's filling up with water, and they're thinking, oh great, Jesus isn't here, and we're going to die. Thanks, Jesus. Really appreciate you sending us out in the storm. Didn't you know ahead of time there was going to be a storm in our lives? Sometimes we go through our lives and we face a storm and we wonder, Jesus, didn't you know we were going to face? Yes, he knows.
Yes, he knows.
He knew. But he sent you in the storm anyway? Yeah. Yeah. He's not done teaching you. He's not done showing you. He's not done giving compassion to you so that you can give compassion to others. Why do you think Jesus shows compassion to us? So that we can show compassion to others. Why do you think he shows love to us? Why do you think he helps us go through a storm or allows those things in our lives that he can take us through so that we can go to someone else in a storm and help them through it?
Yes, he does.
And so here they are, and it's the fourth watch of the night. The wind's against them, it says, verse 25. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and cried out in fear. How many of you, if you're in the middle of a storm on a lake, and you're with some fishermen that had all kinds of different stories about being on lakes, and they, it's like sailors today. They have stories of ghost ships, and they have stories of, mermaids and sea monsters and all these different things. And there was a lot more superstition in that day even than today. How many of you think if you're in a boat, you're thinking you're going to sink, you're in the middle of the lake, the wind's blowing, and you see someone walking on the water, wouldn't that be your first reaction? It's a ghost.
No.
We're about to die. Rainy's like, no, it's Jesus. She's got faith. I mean, they're just being men.
Yeah.
They're just being men that don't know, don't understand Jesus yet. They really haven't figured him out, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have been telling him, send the people away. That's compassion. Let us keep our 5 loaves. That's compassion. They're still not understanding compassion. I know there was another time they were in a boat in a storm and Jesus was sleeping in the back of the boat. And they go, hey, Jesus, don't you care that we're going to die? What's the matter for you? You're sleeping. And he just gets up and say, peace. And it all stops. And they're like, oh, I guess you do care if we're going to die. And here they are again. They're in the boat. They think they're going to die. They're like, it's a ghost. But Jesus immediately said unto them, take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid. Boy, you'd think that would give them some peace. Maybe some confusion. It's Jesus. You're walking on water. No one's ever seen anybody walk on water before this point. They've walked through parted water, but walking on water? Pretty weird. And he's like, take courage. It's I. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. The wind's still blowing. The waves are still beating. The boat's still at the possibility of sinking, but Jesus is there. And Jesus will come to you in the storm, and Jesus will come to you at times in your lives. You're thinking everything's gone, everything's fallen apart. There's no hope. There's always hope with Jesus. And when he comes to you and he says, peace, be still, let his peace come in. Sometimes it's hard for us to accept his peace. Sometimes it's hard for us to say, take our eyes off the storm or the boat that's sinking and look at Jesus who can walk on water. Because if he can walk on water and we're with him, then maybe we can walk on water too. And it doesn't matter if the boat sinks. It doesn't matter if the storm rages. It could be kind of fun riding the waves if you can walk on top of them. You don't have to worry about drowning. I don't know. I think that would be kind of fun. I like water. And